Wedding planners of Reddit, what is the biggest bridezilla moment you've witnessed? It was an outside ceremony at a golf course, with an inside reception. About an hour to the ceremony the skies went dark, and storm clouds began rolling in. I tell my outdoor brides we need to call the wedding no later than 30 minutes in advance, so we have time to move guests indoors, as well as any other items, flowers, etc. In this case the bride had a beautiful indoor location that was easily used for both ceremony and reception, which is why there was no tent. I suggest to the bride that she move her ceremony inside. She says no, she wants it outside. I show her the clouds. It's Seattle, she says. There are always clouds. Well yes, but these are storm clouds and you have 200 people sitting outside on a golf course. She won't budge. No amount of reasoning is helping. 20 minutes to ceremony it starts to get windy. Nothing big yet, but this is just more signs that wet weather is upon us. She still won't reconsider. Several guests are seated outside. Many hover inside the reception area because it's cold out now. I tell her this. Tell her last call. Warn her what happens if it rains during the ceremony. She still wants it outside. The ceremony begins. It starts to sprinkle. Bridesmaids are getting wet as they walk down the aisle. Shoes are sinking into the grass. Guests are looking worried. The bride walks down the aisle just as big wind gusts begin. Rain starts to fall in earnest. Guests try and use umbrellas, but it is just too gusty. We aren't even 5 minutes into the ceremony when the heavens suddenly open and it pours. Guests start screeching and start moving inside. Ceremony is still happening for the bride, but guests are bailing. Musicians grab their instruments and head inside. The bridal party continues to stand there like nothing is happening, much like the band on the Titanic. There are maybe 20 guests left. Everyone else has bailed. It is an open downpour. Anyone left is just soaked. Officiant is rushing now, though there isn't really anyone left to witness vows. Before they got to the kiss, the lightning began. At that point they finally bailed. The bride and bridal party spent the reception looking like drowned rats. The bride was just ruined. Runny makeup, hair smushed. She had rashes on her skin from being wet all night. Wet lace and heavy ball gowns are not easily worn wet. All the decor that was meant to move inside following the ceremony was ruined. Thousands of dollars on flowers and centerpieces down the drain. Literally. And in the end, hardly anyone witnessed the ceremony at all, and they didn't even get to finish. Bad bride. Last weekend a bride strides into a gorgeous rented chapel 4 hours early while 30 people are praying in her super short makeup robe. Freaks out because a one table was not set up at that moment. Picks up a chair in front of everyone and throws it at a trash can. Yep. I was hired to assist with makeup and dressing. I was 8 months pregnant and had to tie the mother sari. So while I'm tying it the mother tells me I'm doing it wrong and wants me to do it her way. I told her that she won't be able to walk if I tie like she is requesting. She starts to get frustrated, so I tie her sari in the way she wants. This woman doesn't know how to tie a sari, she apparently doesn't wear them. So she comes out and starts screaming and yelling at the wedding planner that I don't know how to tie a sari and now she can't walk. She is in tears. So then the planner takes her away and calms her down and tied her sari. This leaves me in the E-room with the other girls, hair and makeup, and the bride. So the bride turns to me and starts saying you ruined my wedding day. How dare you make my mother cry on this day. You are a horrible person and are running the most important day of my life. I couldn't help it, but I started to laugh and I couldn't stop. It was so dramatic and it was a sari. Nothing was ruined. I took 10 minutes to fix and the mother would listen about how to put one on. The wedding planner walks in, so the bride started tripping out and screaming get out. Get out. I don't want to see your face. You ruined everything. She started to cry. I laughed even harder and said you are in for a surprise in your life if you think a poorly tied sari is the worst thing in the world and you are using it as an excuse to ruin your own day up. I turned to the planner, told her to pay me so I could go home and put my feet up. The wedding planner called me the next week to help with another wedding. I said no. My cousin married a vapid idiot. The night before the wedding at the rehearsal she figured out the flower girl had the same shoes as her in a much smaller size. She flipped her crap at 9 p.m. and made the mother of the flower girl buy different shoes for her before the ceremony. That's what happens when you buy your shoes from Payless. Not much of a selection in white. I'm not a wedding planner, but my friend is getting married soon. She planned this huge wedding with 8 bridesmaids/groomsmen, and when she tried to arrange for the bridesmaids to get together and pick out bridesmaids' dresses, 2 of them couldn't make it on the day she picked. She was so upset that they couldn't come on that particular day that she sent out a nasty text to all the bridesmaids and cancelled the big wedding, and now is having a destination wedding with just her fiancé and their family. Not a wedding planner, but at my sister's wedding, part of the reception was held indoors, in an area which isn't wheelchair accessible. My disabled wife and I had to miss out on that part of it. We found out about it on the day, minutes before that part of the wedding was due to start. A little while after, we realized that there actually is a way to get into the area. We just need to go through an inside room which had been set up with tables for dinner. I found my sister and asked them to ask the staff to let us through. Sister forbade us from going through the room, saying she didn't want anyone going into it until it was dinner time, essentially leaving my wife and I sitting alone outside while she and her friends had a chocolate fountain and open bar. I came about this close to giving her a loud piece of my mind and bailing on the wedding. I had this client book me for a day of 2 weeks before the actual wedding. I regret taking it to this day. She had no transportation plan to take her home at the end of the night. I asked her repeatedly what her plan was, and she told me she just wouldn't drink and planned to drive to her honeymoon spot. She never told me where it was, even though I kept asking. Fast forward 2 weeks. A massive tornado just went through the area the day before her wedding, and power lines and trees were blocking every entrance to the highway to her wedding in the Boonies of Maryland. I got up early to deal with the issues at the venue, like no electric on a 100-degree day. I get a call from her around 6 a.m. saying she realized she needs transportation now. Fine, I'll find it. One last question. Where is this mystery honeymoon spot? 0 hours away in West Virginia. I call every District of Columbia and Maryland-based limo company and beg them to find someone to drive into the Maryland countryside at 11 p.m. and then take them to West Virginia. Finally someone relented, and I called the bride to tell her the price. Complete meltdown. Well, guess what? You request that at the last minute, you're going to pay whatever they want to charge you. The wedding itself was a complete crap show. The bride hated her hair and makeup and made it very well known to me, even though she had personally booked the stylist. As it was 100 degrees and blazing July sun, the original unshaded area was going to be terrible for the ceremony. I suggested we move it for her comfort and the comfort of her guests to the beautiful area with a centuries-old tree. She refused, but as guests arrived they did nothing but complain. I decided to say hell it and moved the ceremony to make everyone happy. It was a 1-hour traditional Jewish ceremony, and in no good mind would I let people suffer in the sun. After the ceremony, I had to wait outside the bridal suite while the couple had a bedding ceremony, something I never want to witness again. Said ceremony went way over, thus extending cocktail hour and shortening the reception. The bride freaked out that she lost out of dancing time because of it and blamed it on me. At the end of the night during cleanup, the mother of bride started throwing decor in her car rather than let my team do the loadout. As soon as she left, I noticed my emergency kit was nowhere to be found. I called the mother of bride and she claimed she never saw it, even though it was next to the decor we had started to pile up. The next week I get a call from the venue saying they saw a car throw a bag out of their window onto the steps of the venue and then speed away. Alas, it was my bag, and I had to drive over 90 minutes to go fetch it, even though the mother of bride and bride lived super close to me and had my address. To top it all off, I got heat stroke and my poor assistant had to drive us home at midnight. It was my brother's wedding, and I was one of the bridesmaids for my sister-in-law. We were taking all those cutely, typical pre-wedding photos between the bride and her bridesmaid, and her parents, when we realized that only the bridesmaid's transport had arrived, and that the car for her and her dad was stuck somewhere. She called up to find out what was happening, proceeded to scream at the poor guy who was stuck somewhere in the middle of nowhere. Her skin erupted in a red sort of rash that was visible on her chest. and her arms, and she screamed that she was not going to get married if she couldn't go in the car she paid for. Half an hour went by. No car for her. We suggested she just come with us. We had a Volkswagen C2 wedding decorated van and had plenty of space for her and her parents. Her response? No, I can't turn up this late to my wedding. I'm not getting married. After a tense 10 minutes, she got in our van and we continued with the wedding day. Not a planner, but was going to be in a wedding as a bridesmaid. The bride-to-be took us, the maid of honor, another bridesmaid, and myself, out to pick out dresses. The bride's mother and the groom's mother also came at her insistence. We, the bridesmaids, arrive at the dress shop, only to find that the bride, her mom, and the groom's mom had already picked out the dress she wanted us to wear for the wedding, when they'd bought her wedding dress a few weeks prior. Okay, that's fine in theory, but we had been under the impression we'd get to pick our own dresses. Whatever, it's her wedding. But when we try the dresses on, we realize that it doesn't really look good on two of us, because we are all different frames and sizes. We come out and show the bride and two moms, and the moms are in agreement that this dress really doesn't work. The bride, however, is very upset that we don't all magically look great in the same dress. She starts making snide, subtle comments about our appearances. She started implying that we'd need to lose weight to look good in them, and telling one of the other girls how she'd need a push-up bra to look normal. The moms ignore the bride's attitude and flag down an employee to help us find some alternatives. We're in a small city, so their selection isn't the best, but the employee finds at least half a dozen other dresses that come in the color the bride wants. We try them all on, but because we vary so much in body types, most of them don't look good on one or all of us. Strapless ones look bad on the busty girls, the long dresses don't fit right on the short ones, etc. The bride continues to make comments about our bodies. Finally, the last dress we try on is generic enough that it looks fine on all of us. The bride doesn't like it because it doesn't make us look sexy enough. To make matters worse, in her eyes, the dress has pockets. She absolutely does not want her bridesmaids having pockets. At this point, every single one of us is happy with this choice except her. She reluctantly agrees to let us pick that dress, but is very clearly not happy. So then we go to pick out shoes. The bride tells us we will be wearing the same shoes as her, but in a different color. Weird, but again, we try not to argue with her. When we try them on, though, there is a snag in her plans. I have very small feet, technically a 3 in kids, though some size 5 shoes will fit. The heels she wants are sky high and strapless. When I put them on and try to walk, my feet keep slipping out. They're also open-toed, so I can't really stuff the front like I've done in the past. To top it off, just standing in them to try them on, I find the front is absolutely killing my feet. I tell her this, and she watches me try to walk in them, only to have them flop off. Her mom asks if they come in a smaller size, but they're fancy stripper shoes, so no, they obviously don't make them to fit kids. The bride's solution? Once you start to wear them, your feet will swell, and they'll fit then, and walks off. The bride's mom assures me that we'll figure out something, and buys all of our dresses and shoes as condolences. I never got to know how that would have worked out though, because the bride and groom simultaneously cheated on each other, so they called off the wedding. The bride didn't even have the nerve to tell me herself. I had to hear it from the maid of honor. We are no longer friends, and it's sad to me now that this wasn't even the reason why. I can't believe I'll let someone treat me and other people she called friends like that. I went to a wedding for my wife's coworker. She took her sweet time getting ready and made everyone wait an hour to walk down the aisle. It was her perfect day for the sake of it being her perfect day. She wasn't in love and just wanted to get married. Everyone there knew it. Even the mother of the bride made comments like, well, it's the Jackie show, implying that it wasn't really about the marriage. My wife and I predicted it would last 6 months. It turns out we were right. She was very upset her husband was cheating on her, but the entire time she was cheating on him. Just a sham and completely pointless event.